Hi there. We're in the far north of Australia, in the northern part of the Northern Territory. We're going to be taking a 3-day road trip from Darwin out to the Kakadu and beyond. So buckle up and join us on this epic adventure. We'll be staying for a couple of nights at Mary River and at Jabiru, which is the uranium mine. Please take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification button if you want to know when we upload new content. Thank you. The major road we'll be using is the Arnhem Highway, which goes from the turnoff near Darwin all the way out to Jabiru. We'll be taking some side roads as we see some of the sites, and they are not bitumened, but the Arnhem Highway is bitumen all the way. The biggest danger are these huge road trains. You can see one that we're passing here, and this is not unusual. There's many of this size. Our first stop is going to be a place called Fogg Dam, which is mostly famous for the wetlands and the bird life that you find in those wetlands. So Fogg Dam is about 45 minutes from Darwin. That's about 60 kilometres, 45 miles. And it's just off a turn-off on the Arnhem Highway, so very easy to get to. There's about 239 different species of birds that have been recorded here, 80 of them migratory. There's also mammals, agile wallabies, and there's also freshwater crocodiles. Not many salties, mostly freshies. So not the really big ones, but there are crocodiles here. So yeah, two dangerous animals here, crocodiles and water buffaloes. And the water buffaloes are dangerous, so stay out of their way. So this is the dry season. The nicest thing is all the sounds of the bush that you can hear here. This area is very popular for tours from Darwin and day trippers because it's so close. They come out here in their 4-wheel drives, which are great. Everyone gets to see some of the habitat. This dam was actually made from a failed rice farming venture, which they built a dam and then the rice crops failed. So that was unfortunate, but it's created a freshwater hole which attracts wildlife from miles around. Now, just down the road from Fogg Dam is our next stop off, which is a place called Windows on the Wetlands. And of course, being the sort of people we are, we came here in the dry season, not in the wet season. But anyway, still magnificent views and lots of bird life and wildlife here. From their viewing platform, you can see for miles around. Now, apparently this is all covered in water during the wet season, and it must be truly spectacular. We will come back at that time. There's the viewing platform, there's an elevator to get up there, there's a gift shop, and it's all run by locals, which is really fantastic. So we spent a couple of hours there checking out all the bird life, and we're back on the road with these gigantic road trains. They're certainly huge. Anyway, we've had ourselves lunch at the Crowry Park Tavern, which is a bit of an institution in the Northern Territory. So we'll stop off there for a meat pie and sauce. There's a local flock of corrallers here. If you know them, they're extremely intelligent birds. And you can just see him, a big crocodile at the back here in this cage. He's keeping an eye on us. We also got to check out some of these road trains up close. talking of crocodiles, let's go and check out the habitat. So we're going to head now to the Mary River billabong and the bird billabong, which are, as you know, billabong is the Australian word for lake or water hole. So we're going down a gravel track to get there. Luckily we're in four-wheel drive. Our driver, who was a local, tells us the best way to handle all these ruts in the road is to drive at 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometres an hour, and that way you just catch the top of the ruts. Anyway, it seemed to work out okay. This is prime crocodile country. You can see here where they come up the bank. Very dangerous if you're not aware of them. They could grab you pretty quick and you would never have a chance. So we're going to use a drone to check out some of the surroundings. It really was prime crocodile country. So next up we're at the Bark Hut, which is another legendary road stop on the Arnhem Highway. It's got all these old Land Cruisers which used to be used for rounding up water buffalo. You can find old film clips of them. They drive around with a noose on a pole and try and rustle down the water buffaloes. Now it's a pub, and everyone seems to stop here, and it's full of memorabilia and souvenirs from the surrounding land and water. So these Land Cruisers have definitely seen better days, but now they're an attraction in their own right. So a pretty fun-filled day on the first day. Now we're pulling up to our accommodation for tonight, which is glamping or glamour camping or luxury camping or something. It's in a tent at a place called Breeze Holiday Park. So it's just down the road from the Bark Hut. So we have a couple of tents here. They all seal up and everything to protect you from the bugs, and there's facilities and everything. So we're not roughing it. It's a pretty nice place. Some of the locals say that it's seen better days, but I was perfectly fine with it. So it's the dry season, and there's a bushfire just over the river. So we're on one side of the river, the bushfire's just on the other side. There's dry wood, and the crackling, it really sounded almost like gunfire. So our luxury tents are down about 20 metres from or maybe 50 metres from the river, and there's agile wallabies all around. And I guess with the bushfire, they all congregate on the green grassy spots. I guess they know from experience that those are the places they're less likely to get burnt by the bushfire. These agile wallabies are a little skittish though. You can't really get close to them. But there's hundreds of them. They're all over the ground. So if you came to Australia to see kangaroos, then this is one great place to see them. They're very alert and very skittish. Now, one thing you need to be aware of in Australia, of course, especially at the top end here, is the bugs. And make sure you've got great bug spray because they are really ferocious. They do stay away with the right protection, but you need to make sure you've got bug spray. So all that cracking sound is the super dry wood full of sap exploding in the bushfire. So the bushfire burned all night, basically. It was the other side of the river, and there was no wind, so it didn't cross the river. Next day, up bright and early, we went back to Margaret River to do a cruise, or I'm not sure if you call it a cruise, but it's we hire a small boat and take a cut lunch and go out on the river. It gives us a chance to get up close and personal with the local wildlife. You can take an organised tour from Darwin to do a Mary River cruise, but we're just doing our own thing here. So we're hiring one of these boats and got our own cut lunch, and we'll go and do a DIY cruise. I already seen one this morning. We're not after the jumping crocodiles today. Actually, we hope we don't see any because we're only 1 foot off the water, and you can see in some shots the cages that they have around. So we feel quite safe, but we're just aware that you can't go in the water or anything, and you don't dangle things over the side because that would be bad. Can you see the jabiru there? And also just below him, another crocodile. So I've seen numerous crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles, over 15 feet. Sometimes you can pick them out. Hopefully you're watching this in 4K and you can pick them out sitting on the riverbank. There's one there. They sit there this time of day with their mouth open, starting to cool off. It's the hot season. They're everywhere. At some point we saw, must have been like 5 or 6 on the bank. So if you're confident handling a boat, you can hire your own boat there. Also check out these giant termite mounds. So we spent about 4 hours there on the Mary River and then drove up to Jabiru. Jabiru is the town associated with the uranium mine and the Ranger uranium mine, and has a really interesting Aboriginal art store here as well, and some really great pieces of art. Unfortunately, a little beyond my budget, but very nice to admire anyway. So another super long day today, being on the river and everything. And tonight we're staying in Jabiru at the Aurora Kakadu Lodge and Caravan Park. Very nice place, has an attached restaurant with swimming pool and everything, and just these little huts to stay in. Perfectly functional restaurant. Food was pretty good as well, and we had a beer, which was nice. So up bright and early the next morning, and we're off today to a place called Owenpelly, which is in Arnhem Land. To get there, we need to cross over a place called Cahill's Crossing. And Cahill's Crossing is where there's a weir, and the crocodiles sit on one side of the weir waiting for the fish to come up at high tide. And often we see a huge number of crocodiles, a really gigantic size here.
Crocodiles on the right hand.
But more on that later. Right now we're off to Owenpelly. We'll drive through here and we'll stop on the way back.
Probably a second card in there, isn't it? Crocodile over there, see? Far bank.
One guy fishing there. I think they're okay here at low tide, but at high tide it would be pretty dangerous.
Did you make some sort of...
This is the end of the bitumen here, so the road trains still come through here, but they need to deflate their tyres over these rough roads. We're going to handle it just by travelling at 50 miles an hour. Seems to work pretty well.
It's nice here, but close to Darwin.
Once we get into West Arnhem Land proper, the scenery changes quite a bit. There are many more of these rock outcrops sitting in the wetlands. It makes for some pretty dramatic landscapes. This place over here looks almost like a medieval castle or something out of a South American castle, something like that. But these are all naturally formed. It's sedimentary rock, just layers and layers and very old rocks. So just about an hour up the road and we're into the town of Owenpelly. I'd like to say the town's seen better days, but I'm not sure it ever has. For an excellent movie and some background on this area, check out the movie High Ground. So a little bit about Owenpelly. Owenpelly was established as a mission station in 1925 and functioned that way until the 1970s when it was taken over by the local administration. The population is around 1,200 people in the town, many more in the surrounding area, of course. This town is only accessible by air during the wet season. All the roads we travelled on are flooded out during the wet season, and you must fly in. The thing that really hits you out here is the heat and the dust. And it's the peak of the dry season now, and all this is going to change dramatically when the wet season comes along. And I really must try and get out here during the wet season, but the heat and the dust is just tremendous here. By the way, it's also worth mentioning that Owenpelly is also called Gunbalanya, so you might see either of those written on maps. These sandstone outcrops are very old and very impressive. We do actually climb one of these a little later on. So that's the end of the journey in West Arnhem Land. Now it's back to Cahill's Crossing to see the alligators.
Croc there on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 further up.
2 having a skirmish there. There's a viewing platform up there.
Yeah, that's all new.
A big 15-footer there, just waiting for someone to sloop up. According to Wikipedia, only 5 people have been killed by crocodiles here, which some people find a little surprising given that there's so many. They aren't logs you can see there. They're all very large salties or saltwater crocodiles, all waiting for the tide to come in so that they can have a feast of mullet and barramundi. Or if they're really lucky, a careless tourist. The last death recorded here was back in 2017, so 5 or 6 years ago. And since then the viewing platform's been built, so it's actually much safer to see the crocs in action. at high tide, the water overflows this causeway, and the fish come up, and the crocs wait on the right-hand side there to gulp them down. In the wet season, of course, this whole area is flooded and the road is impassable. It's a few hours to high tide, so we won't actually have time to wait around and see them, but by our count, there's about 18 to 20 of these super large crocs here. Next to Car Hills Crossing is a place called the Border Store. It's currently closed, but it's usually open, and this was the last store before going into the restricted area of Arnhem Land. Even to this day, you need a special permit from the Northern Territory Land Council or something similar in order to officially go into Arnhem Land. So this border store was the unofficial sort of capital of the region, and used to support the local cattle stations, and the post office and everything was here. I think this telephone booth is actually still working. So it's a solar-powered telephone booth. Very interesting. So we're just around the corner from where we were spotting the crocodiles previously. We're upstream from there. Doesn't mean all the crocs are downstream from the causeway though. There are a few here. You just can't always see them, so we'll stick away from the edges. So this place is where you launch your boat if you're going fishing on the Alligator River. I think you'd be a hardy soul that did that. Not for me, thank you very much. After visiting the crocodiles, we're off to Ubia to see some Aboriginal rock art. It's a short walk into the bush. It's a good path and everything's well signposted. The rock art here is listed as a World Heritage Site, and it dates back thousands of years. Some of the art is what they call X-ray paintings, which shows the internals of the animals that they were hunting. And there are also others that record interactions with the first non-Aboriginal visitors to Australia. Also recorded is the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, which became extinct on the mainland about 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. So it seems like they were hunted here before they went extinct on the mainland, and they continued on in Tasmania before they were made extinct about the beginning of the 20th century. The rock art is fascinating, and there's a lot of work going on to more accurately date it. After this, we're going to climb Nadab Lookout, which is a stony outcrop. We saw similar when we were in the car earlier, but we're climbing to the top of this for a lookout over the over Arnhem Land. This is not a particularly strenuous climb, but highly recommend that you use sensible shoes and that sort of thing. There are places where there are significant step-ups required, so if you are challenged anyway, then maybe this isn't for you. But on a difficulty rating, it's not too difficult. This last stretch up to the summit is slightly more challenging. You can see a few steps that you need to take up, but as long as you're at moderate fitness, you should be okay. This video can't actually show you how incredibly hot it is, though. It's well over 38 degrees, 39 degrees, and which is well over 100 Fahrenheit. So if you take this walk, please ensure you bring plenty of water, because you'll pass out pretty quickly through dehydration. Finally at the top, and the views are magnificent. You can understand why the Aborigines treated these places with such reverence. Okay, time to head down. And it does seem a little more precarious going down for some reason, but it's still not too strenuous. Just being careful to watch our steps as we go. So that was our last stop before heading back to Darwin. It's only 3.5 to 4 hours from Jabiru to Darwin, so you can easily do it in one day. I should point out that this is a dual carriageway, so it's not an overtaking lane. But traffic volumes are light, and you don't see much oncoming traffic, so as long as you're sensible, you shouldn't have any issues. Actually, this last truck we're overtaking here is in an overtaking lane, so there are a few of those as you get close to Darwin. So back onto the main highway between Darwin and Alice Springs, and that wraps up our trip. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of content as we post it. It really helps me out. Thanks a lot.